Alright, hello and welcome back to Let's Play yet another no-name MAME game. Today's no-name MAME game is, of course, Riot's Revenge. As you've probably guessed by the appropriate word road in the title, it is a racing game. Let's go for the truck. The tough truck. Kind of reminds me of a tough puppy. Oh my gosh. So all the characters aren't so great. Now, cool thing, since credits are a little cheap, we can just buy our way to victory. Oh, come on. I still haven't quite figured out the controls. It's always a little fun playing racing games with an arcade stick. Something they were not meant to be played with, or never intended to. So, let's see, the buttons, well, the fifth button is accelerate, which doesn't make any sense, because I never assigned a fifth button. The first button might be I'm not sure. Second button is our Vulcan cannon, and our third button is something. Oh right, when I put in a ton of cash and bought all the upgrades, fourth button was a rocket launcher. Unfortunately, now in my plebeian car, there does not seem to be much rocket launchering. Although, let's be realistic, this is sort of a game where you just kind of get in there and you just start mashing things, and then blowing things up, and then shooting people, and then just having fun. Can you hear that announcer in the background? That is terrible. Oh gosh, I mean, if you haven't quite figured out, this is sort of a little bit of a rough prototype. Not everything works exactly well. But still, even with this more or less unfunctional build, it's pretty insane. I mean, I can't necessarily say it's fun, but there is a lot of interesting stuff going on the screen, and sometimes it's all you really require out of an arcade game. Although I just now realize we're running like sort of a circuit race, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would you go like all off-road and have all these crazy vehicles just to have a circuit race? Let's go rally or go broke, man. But otherwise, I mean, looking at the graphics, this doesn't look like a broken game or any sort of prototype. This looks like a real, honest-to-goodness arcade experience. And I mean, yeah, the graphics are rough, but there's like just so much stuff going on that I can forgive it for that. And then, oh man, we're back in the days of early FMV and arcade games where, they tried to put in real people, but didn't quite work out. Okay, so now we can buy our way to victory. Buy some armor, why not? Come on, when you were a kid in an arcade and you only had like something, so many, oh, I can't even select the engines and traction because my arcade stick won't let me go diagonal. So, yeah, why not? But I mean, come on, when you were a kid, you totally know you wanted to just put in like 1,000,000 credits and get all the stuff. Well, I think that's enough to kill out Crazy Killer Carl. Ernabella, Australia. It sounds like a person, actually. Ernabella from Australia. Are you hearing that? I don't think you're hallucinating. That's actually a weird voice in the background yelling, "Skip Metaphorio." Alright, okay, so now A is boosting. Let's see, how many boosts do we even have? Can we possibly use them all? Oh, I should just turn on auto-fire. Now, oh man. We're just like this rolling death machine. This is how you should play arcade games. You just play as a rolling arcade machine. I don't know why they didn't, they made you pay for the upgrades when you could just, like, do stuff like this. Well, I mean, when there is stuff like this that you could do, because, I mean, you know, it's like, if you saw this game and you could just be this whirly banshee of doom and destruction, you would put in a quarter to experience that, whereas, like, as it is now, it's sort of a mildly generic, pseudo 3D super scrolling racer, and then you look at it and you're like, do I really want to? Oh wow, I've already used up 30-something missiles. I don't think they home at all, which is kind of disappointing, really. Oh man. And also too, you might have noticed this, but everything's kind of scrolling high. So I mean, this is like, again, in the earlier days, before 3D was perfected, so one of the ways to get a 3D effect was to just have everything scroll. And, I mean, that sounds a lot simpler than it is to do. Oh. Even with all of that rampant cheating, we were still not able to win. That stunk, mate. I still haven't figured out, are we playing as him, or is, like, he the person we're playing against? Sucker? You get last place, and you get a sucker. Oh my god. That's freaky. There's no two ways about it. That's just freaky.
Upgrade now.
No. Just no. Quit. Quit. I can't even look at the screen. There we go. That's how you know it's a broken game, when you've got this disembodied voice screaming, "It Metaphorio!" into your ear. Alright, let's try to run a, well, I can't say run a clean race. That's not how you play arcade games, but you can at least run a mildly clean race. Oh yeah, so, I mean, it sounds like doing a super, like, having everything scroll, it sounds like it would be easy, but it does require a certain amount of, just arcade machine hardware, just like a certain amount of processor speed. I mean, most notably, Outrun had the super scrolling effect, and a very good one. And that was like early 80s or something, late 80s, like mid 80s? It was in the 80s. And then the Genesis comes along, and sure, it's got a port of Outrun for it, which, I mean, it was good, but it could not match the scaling at all. And it wasn't really until, like, even 32-bit, Sega Saturn we're talking about, that you could reliably do the scrolling. Yeah, 32-bit. So, I mean, this game, it might not seem so impressive with the sprites, but it still was impressive. Although, that being said, this is probably, like, early 90s or something, when that kind of arcade hardware was fast, cheap, and plentiful, so it's less impressive than it was in the beginning. But it's still not something to be scoffed at, I suppose. Oh, whoa, I somehow cheated my way into first place. And just like that, down to fourth place. You ever played a kart racer? That's just how they go. Although this game does seem to have a lot less of blatant bull turd. Because in games like Mario Kart or Konami Crazy Racers for the Game Boy Advance, it was a launch title. You made do with what you could find. You usually have, like, crazier power-ups that can, like, totally mess over someone from anywhere in the level, more or less. But this one, it just seems like all you can do is kind of ram into people and shoot people ahead. That left me cold. Well, not many places to choose. Turbo shield? I don't even know what those do. How do you get past this? You just press buttons. That's how you advance in this game. Just button mash. I mean, it doesn't really seem like there's a whole bunch of skill involved in this game. Because, I mean, all you could really do is just kind of move left and right, dodge things that are coming at you, I suppose. I mean, I think... Oh, did you see those... So I said it was super scaling. And so, I mean, if this was 3D, and then you see that bridge, to have it be up a little bit, all you'd have to do is just, like, raise the polygon model. And then it's simple, it's easy, it's cheap and effective. But, like... with super scrolling sprite games, to have like that sort of terrain that goes up and down, you just have to have a bunch of sprite layers that just go up and down. So if you look at the bridge again, and I think it's coming up, it's just a bunch of like flat sprite layers like put on top of each other. If you look closely, it does not look like a bridge at all. It looks like a bunch of just layers of sprites or something. Even the things on the side, if you pay, like, maybe close enough attention, you realize it's not a 3D model, it's just a bunch of sprite layers on top of each other. Oh man, just some of the fun little quirks about, like, how you do implement each sort of system. Otherwise, though, I mean, certainly not the gameplay that's entertaining us. Although I'm sure we're at a bit of a disadvantage, because with the arcade stick, you press left and you go all the way left. And, if you've never been in a car ever, cars don't really like that, where you, drive all the way to the left or right. You're gonna spin out sooner or later. So I'm only assuming that, that's mildly impacting us. Wow. The action is fast and furious. And we've got, like, crazy environmental hazards that come in randomly, so... I mean, after a certain point, like, the gameplay is more or less locked. So, yeah, I mean, there are some shortcuts like that. Like you saw, we boosted up onto the crazy overhead ramp thing, the L, as it were. And, Catman do, Catman don't. And then you just take the up L thing, and then, you can just kind of boost past everyone and rock it out. Nihon Jin. What is this, Samurai Champloo? Get out of here. Oh yeah, sometimes the kart racing games, they have like shortcuts where you just have to memorize where they are on the course. And I mean, that's kind of cool if you play it over and over again, but if you want to just have like a couple friends, oh cars, oh, perilous. You just want to have a couple friends over and just play some Mario Kart, then it gets a little annoying because then like the people who played Mario Kart, they know all the shortcuts and they can just kind of sort of quote cheat and get through everything. This, not so much. All the shortcuts are kind of obvious. I mean, there are like boosts you can go on. I kind of like that idea of having like boosts in an arcade racer, because then you've got like something to aim for. I guess it like breaks up the driving a little bit, like you don't just go forward. New shield, can we even do that? Oh nice, we got rockets again. And just like that, they're gone. All good things must come to an end. Some things faster than others. Wait, what? So looking at our guy in the car, he's white now, but then before he was like yellow, so what's the deal with that? And well, we'll have to check at the end, see if it's a yellow person or not walking out of the car. If his suit is yellow or not. But yeah, I like the idea of the boost, because then you just have something to aim for while you're playing the game. Like, I mean, in theory, you should be dodging stuff, but honestly, it's not enough of a deterrent to stop doing. But you see, like, a boost, and it's like, I should go there. I guess it's kind of ultimately the philosophy of negative reinforcement versus positive reinforcement. Which, I suppose, is entirely too deep a sight. Oh, nice! You can boost and land onto stuff. Of course, you can boost and land into the street lamps. This is great. And if you look at our place meter, we're just like going up, down, left, right. There's like no consistent winner. It's just kind of like who's luckiest at the end. See, his suit is yellow, but if you look at him during play, it's white. I think it's just kind of one of those quirks with like FMV video things where it's like, it's not quite clear what's happening. And then those other... So we're either in last place or in first place. That's pretty much how car racing games work. Oh, nice. We've got 3 regions, which... Elvis Vegas? Alright, we're in it for the long haul, I suppose.
It's Metaphorio! It's Metaphorio!
And when I hear this music, I think entirely of gambling. In fact, it kind of makes me want to just drive straight forward in a giant gamble. Nice. Oh. It seems like you don't quite have as much control over your car when you're in the air. Some games do, some games don't. And I mean, the realistic default would be to not have any control at all. It's actually really weird, like one of those things that it's like you don't quite realize about real life until you think about it for a little while. Where when you're in the air, you have literally no control over what the car is doing. But in like every video game ever, you kind of have like some limited amount of control. It's just one of those weird things that it's like, when you think about it, you're like, okay, that makes sense in real life, but in the video game, if it's not like that, then it'll wig you out for a little second. I wonder too if that's a little symptomatic of video game. Oh, you're supposed to boost up the ramp to dodge the trailer parks in the way. That makes sense, I guess, in a very warped sort of way. But oh gosh, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I wonder if that's a little symptomatic of like the overall I mean video games' overall trend of giving the player power. So I mean, then the idea being that even though in real life you wouldn't be able to do this, you can add it in. And it's not quite like a big thing, like in real life you're not able to drive a car at crazy speeds and whatever. It's sort of a small thing, like in real life you're not able to turn a car when you're in the air. But in here you can. So... All other what? TCP in your face? What does that mean? I wonder if that's just some sort of allusion to the 90s that I missed. Paradoxically, Backwoods Ben. Let's go for all the stereotypes. In fact, I think that's what they're doing. Well played, I suppose. I will say this about the stages. I mean, with like a racing game like this, it's very easy to have the stages after a while just kind of blur together and be all the same. But these stages, I mean, we've gone through like deserts, we've gone through woods, we've gone through deserts, we've gone through woods, we've gone through the ice, we've gone through woods. There's no real repeating pattern. I guess we've gone through a couple cities too. But I mean, even though that like you can have some woods that are repeated, they're not really the same woods. I wonder if we're even going to get to the California Redwoods. That was like the best stage of Cruisin' USA. The California Redwoods stage. And oh man. The best moment as a kid was when you realized you could run over the trees in Cruisin' USA Redwoods level and not slow down. You're basically this just like god of a machine that could just smash through whatever you wanted. That was awesome. Actually, a lot of arcade game, well, not really this one, because it's scrolling, and you can't really implement that so well, but like a lot of the 3D games, I'm beginning to suspect that a lot of their models for stuff you can run into are just like flat sprites. And so, when you run over something, then you just kind of smash it down as if it were paper. I think it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's technically a programming shortcut, but the effect it creates is like awesome enough that you can leave it in. Like, it's technically something lazy, but if you leave it in, then it's awesome. So you're forgiven for it. Although this game sort of has, whoa, clipping. Oh, that's always crazy when clipping just warps you through stuff, which it's not really supposed to, but then again, lots of things aren't supposed to happen, and they happen anyway. I still haven't quite figured out like why the boost things look like tents though. I mean, like, if you're not really sure what's happening, you'd think people were just like camping out on this racetrack ahead of time. That's how you know it's a backwoods then. Like, people don't even have houses, they just camp around in the woods. No, I mean not on the woods, on the street. Well, I guess if you think about it, it'd probably be cleaner than camping in the woods. Although you'd run into your own versions of uncleanliness. Okay, I was about to say that's not America, but it's not America. Huh. You can learn a lot about how, people actually, who created this game? Because, I mean, there's a bit of a difference in stereotypes of other countries, depending on, like, what country you're in. Although I'm willing to bet that because there were, like, 20-something American stages and, like, just one Asian stage, or Japanese stage, that probably wasn't made in, Japan. That would be crazy, though, if it was made in some other Asian country. Not too many games from other Asian countries, but they were around there. I mean, especially in, like, the 90s, when, like, Japan very clearly dominated the market. Although I feel like the mid-90s, that was sort of the time when, like, Western developers were sort of getting into their own, so... Hey, it's entirely plausible. Well, yeah, I'm beginning to think that it was a Western developer, but you never know. It's kind of interesting, like, if you play a game, can you tell, just from the basic design choices and little things like that, who made the game? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. People are tricky. You can do it with any sort of work of art, or, I mean, work of media, creativity, something. Just choose a couple words, put them together. That's how you do things. So with this hazard pay stuff, I mean, I'm assuming you get some sort of payout for, like, finishing the races in whatever position, but it's such a crapshoot, it doesn't matter. Oh my gosh. Creepy laugh in the background. I wonder if that's actually, like... Because some games have it where the synth voice is separate from, like, the game audio. So it's not just, like, part of the soundtrack, that creepy voice going. It's actually like some external speaker. Well, I guess the games that mostly do this are mostly pinball tables, but I'm sure some arcade games did it. Well, I guess also too, those have been like arcade games to the 70s, where late 70s at least, and then there was like no other way to do it. Nice. Let's see where the next exotic locale is. Baja, Mexico. Baja Bertha. I wish I could say that was clever. Not so much.
It's Metaphorio. It's Metaphorio.
Say it with me now.
It's Metaphorio.
Ooh, now we've... Oh. Don't crash into the things that are crashing into you. It's those little bits of strategy that kind of keep you in. Oh, wow. Just look at that background. I mean, I realize that it's, like, just sort of a screenshot. Just kind of posted in, but... That's... Sometimes that effect that it creates of just having that amazing backdrop is really amazing. And I mean, you look at Outrun. I'm gonna mention Outrun 20 more times in this video. Take count. But if you look at Outrun, like, some of its backgrounds are pretty amazing. And actually, like, a lot of super scrolling sprite racers, even if you couldn't quite do the scrolling right, at the very least you should be able to do the backgrounds correctly. And actually, you look at, like, Super Hang-On Outrun for the Genesis, and I mean, they couldn't handle the super scrolling. But you look at their backgrounds, and their backgrounds are pretty sweet. So that's a nice little way that, like, even if you can't quite do the whole sort of package, it's a nice, quick way of, like, adding a bunch of value for relatively little cost. Oh, wow, it seems like we're just racing through this stage. And I mean, yeah, we race through all the stages, but it seems like the stage is especially quick. And there's only one real, like, gimmick, like, can you make it up the wood bridge and boost in time? And then otherwise, no, it's not so exciting. I kind of wonder, like, what's the theory behind making all of these stages? Like, do you focus on, like, a couple stages and make them really big? Or do you just kind of, like, half-ass all the stages, so you've got, like, tons of stages? Because I'd imagine you tend more towards the latter, especially, too, because, like, people playing this would be more impressed by, like, kind of the visual splendor of it, rather than, Lucas Sinus. That's... I'm actually a little disappointed that they didn't, like, work in Corn or some other, joke into this. They went for, like, a universal sinus infection for the Iowanian? And we're back into the... Yeah, so it seems like you kind of focus on having, like, as many different different stages that look visually different as you could, rather than, like, having any stages that were especially great. Although, for a game that does, like, sort of the opposite sort of thing, look at Hydro Thump. just by raw instinct, I say Outrun. That's right, there was only one racing game ever, it was Outrun. No, but if you check out Hydro Thunder, like, their tracks are definitely works of art. And because, like, every time you happen upon a new, arcade machine version of it, you have to play through all of them again anyway. Each time, you play through, like, the stages a lot of times. But it's, like, even though it's the same stages each time it's an amazing experience. And those stages are very intricate, and it's one of the racers that has a lot of shortcuts that you have to kind of memorize, and you have to learn how to manage your boost, and you have to do all the stuff, so it's a surprisingly technical game, but I guess I can kind of forgive that, because you would never really play that with multiplayer. And at the same time, like, there is a sort of visceral thrill in just kind of boosting around and smashing through everything. Even if you're, like, totally in 4th place, just the catharsis of, like, smashing through a bunch of other competitors, that can probably make up for losing every single race. Although, let's see, it was ported to the Dreamcast, which could do 2 players simultaneously. And then it was also on the N64, I hear, that, like, with the expansion pack, you could do 4-player, but I'm pretty sure it lagged pretty badly. It was actually in the days, like, before split screen was kind of, like, everyone could have their own split screen that was going great. I don't know, it's just these things, like, when you're a kid, you're playing games, you don't really think about, like, the technology or, like, the work that goes into making all of it. But then you look at it later, and you're just like, oh my god, that's baffling. How did they manage to do that? Kind of gives you a whole new appreciation. Alright, Region C. Actually, check out that steering wheel in the corner. It's like... This is like a jet. Man, can you imagine if this game was, like, super speedy? And maybe, let's say, it was in a futuristic sort of land. Yeah, we'd call it F-Zero. Oh, wow. And as if on cue, it gives me an awesome boost. I would like more, please. Man, can you imagine if F-Zero was a super scaling game like this, and it actually did feel like you were going at 600-something, I don't know, parsecs per zilzoot? That'd be intense. I mean, F-Zero, yeah, technically, well, okay, it kind of goes back into the old age arcade problem of, like, having to make the person go fast without actually having the arcade power to just speed up the game. So, one quick little solution is to, just ramp up the speedo. So it's like in F-Zero, you're playing the game, and it feels like you're going maybe, well, to its credit, you're feeling maybe going 90. But, like, you look at the speedo, it's like 600,000 miles per hour, and you're like, I'm not buying that. Also, there was Outrun Nurs for, well, the arcade, and the Sega Genesis. Like, one kid just showed up, I was playing that, and then this kid walks up, he's like, I don't think they're really going 90 there. And it said, like, some ridiculous number for the speed. It's just one of the sense of speed doesn't really match up with the speedometer. Although it is kind of surreal if you, like, play sort of a more sim game, like a game that kind of tries to play it more straight, and then if you go at a certain speed, then it just doesn't always quite feel like you're going that speed. Like, there's an art. It's more of an art than a science, making someone feel like they're going fast. That being said, you can't always cheat and just make the game go really fast. All other cars are losers. Is there even a second place to this game? Oh, well. Africa is a dictator. Oh. Shake a leg? Oh, shake a leg. Yeah, I can understand mild puns. I don't know, I'd say a yellow belt in puns. Can you imagine pun battles? Like, for your black belt, you have to... I don't know what you'd have to do. And would you integrate, like, other various forms of poetry and wordplay into the entire process? Like, for your first on black belt, then you have to, it's opposite of golf. Some things, oh god, it's really weird. It's like some things are golf, some things aren't. Where lower's better, lower's worse. It's that sort of thing. But, would you have to write, like, a haiku of puns? And then all of them would have to rhyme? It's like, that's how you know you're a black belt poet. And there should be, like, a standardized, like, poet thing. Because you hear someone's a poet, and it's like, that could just mean they're just some dweeb with the computer just kind of posting stuff on a blog. And it's like, it's poetry. And it's like, it might technically be, but there's no, like, governing body for poetry. But can you imagine if there was, like, a National Poets Guild or National Poets Association? Wow. I know it's a visual glitch, but if you're on the corner and you look down, then the road kind of slopes in like a circle or something, then it kind of feels like you're running into quicksand. I'm sure it's entirely unintentional, but sometimes you just have to imagine your own fun in this game. Oh, what if we get second place? That would actually be more impressive than getting first place. Although, unfortunately, I think we're gonna win. With our last bit of freedom, we gotta smash into something. That is how you play an arcade racer. You just have to smash into everything you can see. In fact, I think the hazard pay, that's like paying us money for crashing into everything that we see. Ida mean daddy. Yep. Nothing like making fun of countries' social problems. It's Metaphorio. It's a metaphor. I wonder if that's like a misguided attempt to make the game seem a bit more deep. Oh, interesting. So I guess we're in sort of the jungly part of Africa, not the deserty part of Africa. It's a bit of a subtle distinction. Well, I mean, it is starting to look a little bit like the other forest levels, but I mean, I wonder if that's just because there's only so many ways you can do a forest level uniquely. I mean, the sprites are different, I guess. And I mean, the obstacles are in different places. It's technically a different track. It'd just be a little disappointing if the game started repeating itself. Although I definitely know that that hill has been repeated over and over. Well, I guess, yeah, too. You can repeat, like, the individual elements, well, necessarily, like, remixing them in different ways each time, but technically it repeats. Yeah, I can see that. Just so long as it doesn't ever feel like the same. Although the music, I don't know, I've been tuning out the music throughout the entire game, and I think that's a very good thing to do. Listening to this music, I mean, there is technically a melody going on, but at the same time, well, okay, I guess there is some orchestration going on, but it's a very sparse, very bare bones. It's almost jarring, almost up to like beeps and bloops of the 80s or something, although not quite that bad, just because this is like a real synth making this. And as bad and harshy as it might be, it's not the bleeping synths of the late 70s, early 80s. Those things will like kill your ears. And then it always seems like the arcades, they try to make them as loud as possible, so it's like, hey, take our quarters, take me, take me! Well, even third place isn't enough to qualify, so it might just be first or nothing. Oh no, you get a medal for third, so I guess you can take third and second. Ratso Rococo. Maybe it's a bit of a hint, shout out to Ratso from Jackie Chan Adventures. I don't think that's actually possible because that'd be like, you'd be like the Nostradamus of pop culture. Could you imagine if you were the Nostradamus of pop culture? Like, you could start every pop culture trend, but if you were ahead of your time, then it's not gonna matter at all. You should be kind of blessed with suck. Oh, and that's an interesting remix. So, I mean, you look at the background and, hey, haven't we seen that somewhere before? Didn't I talk about that at length? But then you look at everything else, and it's all green-ish, but it's also a desert. And then we've got these, stone houses, so definitely an interesting remix on stuff they've already previously developed. Ooh, arches. Those are always visually impressive. You just like run under an arch in a game like this, and you just feel something, a tingle in your spine. Oh wow, that L was pretty long. Just like rushing over, smashing into everything we see. And yet you can't shoot people. It's kind of weird to make that little distinction. It's like, yeah, you could run over them with your car, but you can't shoot them with your guns. That's bad. No shooting guns. Actually, I'm a little dubious as to why it even has guns. Like, you just have it where you just smash into somebody and take them out. Oh, ha! If we glitch around enough, we can even glitch onto the bridge. It's kind of interesting there. Just like a weird little way of doing it. Glitch onto the bridge. Otherwise, yeah. I'm actually a little anticipating, like, what's gonna happen if we can rush through, like, all of these regions, and then the next place, what's it gonna be like? Ooh, second, finally. We got second in some place. Although, sadly, we already know it's gonna give us the silver. Oh, what do you mean loser? I'm a second placer. You're not worth my time. Oh, Sicily. Oh, had to go for it. Had to go for it. Johnny Three Chins. Oh, wow. This is actually a pretty nice stage with, like, the water and then the green and then the track. Like, I mean, having the land right next to the water, it offers a nice contrast. And then you get like a bunch more colors on screen. You get like a bit more of a visual splendor because then half the screen is a different color than the other half of the screen. It's always a nice touch. Although sadly it seems to be criminally underutilized. Oh, so we do get bonuses for crashing into everything we can see. It could remind me of even like Asphalt for the Android and iOS even, where you start getting points for doing crazy stuff. Although in that one, I believe you're given points for not crashing into things, only almost crashing into things, because this game blatantly awarded points for crashing into everything you can see. Of course, then you crash into stuff, then it gets into your way, and you slow down, and then other people can overtake you. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? The answer is, of course, yes. Mayhem is always preferable to not mayhem, but in arcade games at least, don't do that in real life. But I'm sure it's a little bit of a thing. Although, too, I mean, maybe if you're in a real arcade and you had, like, actually a finite supply of quarters, and you were a little worried, then maybe you might double think against it, but it's all so luck-based. And I've, like, won a race even when I was, like, basically last on the home stretch, so there's no consistency. It's all just random. Oh my gosh. Can you feel it? Can you feel the excitement? We're almost there! The mini cheering for like the third place. Yay! You didn't lose, but you didn't win. Yay! That's it. We get a score. Well, at least we unlocked the name entry screen. Left and right, same as the steering wheel. That's not a bad way of... Wow, how did it anticipate the name? That's actually a little frightening now that I think about it. Well, that was 1993 Atari games? Road Riot's Revenge? Okay, so it almost predated the glut of 3D racers, so yeah. Mildly impressive, I suppose. Dang, though, that was like a terrible ending. It's kind of like you play through the whole game, and it's like, yeah, so we total up your points, and your score was a little underwhelming. Well, thanks for playing our game, I guess. See you next time, maybe? Goodbye. And that's it. That's all you get out of this game. At least the sights were nice as we went along, but, if they didn't have that, like, novel aspect of, oh, what's the next level gonna be? What's the next stereotype gonna be? Then, there wouldn't be a whole lot of reason to keep playing this game. I mean, the gameplay is, quite frankly, terrible. And the rest of it, yeah. So it kind of makes you think about how, like, you can have an arcade game, and there are just various ways you can make people play. Like, you can have a good arcade game that's, like, people appreciate the gameplay mechanics. You can show people something new, and you can appreciate the newness of it. But, yeah. So, there are different strokes for different folks, I suppose. And that's right, Cat is the winner. Oh my god, is that Phantom CGR number 2? Anyway, well, on that note, this cat's got a scat.